Hello, my name is Joe Standard, and this is my Module 1 introduction for EDL 856. First off, a little bit about myself. I am an English teacher because, I love reading and writing. I also love working with students that, do struggle a lot. So that's why I mainly teach ninth grade, a lot of remedial students. Also teach reading as well. I teach at Winfield High School with a population of 700 students. I am an ESU alumni. This is my 8th year of teaching. Sometimes I wonder where the time goes, but it seems like you know, last year I started teaching. Well, before the pandemic, I guess. Um, One of my thriving points is improve education and implement new ways to help students. That's always been my driving motivation. All right. I do have an amazing dog. His name is Admiral. He's a pretty good boy. And I got married this summer, so I had a nice COVID wedding. So if anybody knows somebody who had a nice COVID wedding, it was pretty small and intimate affair, and it was really great. Um, we just have to work with what we got sometimes. So a little bit about communication that I use with in my building because I do coach as well, both Scholars Bowl and football and track. So I keep busy a lot, and I have to communicate. I have to use all different levels of communication, whether that's in the classroom or outside of the classroom. So some forms that I use. So Gmail is always the top one that I use because it's just very quick. I can use Gmail really quickly to get something out. Also within Gmail, I also use like Google Hangouts as well, where I can easily communicate with individual students or with parents as well. Like if it's just a short question, I can just quickly type it in, send it to them, and it's good to go. With text and phone call, I utilize Google Voice. During the pandemic, I got to utilize that more and more, just kind of keep my personal number private, and so I can be able to uh, better communicate with parents as well, because there was a lot of communication during that time to help out with communication and everything. So I utilize a lot of Google Voice to do that with. It was a great product to use. It really was. And I'm glad we had that offered to us to use, even though I did have to use it on my personal account, not my school account. But I was able to use that to effectively communicate what was going on. I also utilize Google Classroom to communicate with students and parents. A lot of times they can understand, what my expectations are, what assignments are missing, things like that. So also, because of COVID, I got to use Google Meet a lot. Still planning on utilizing that as much as I can, as long as it's still offered to us, without us having to pay like a bunch of money for. I thought it was a great tool to use to get that face-to-face communication. Still one of my favorite ones to use. I'm really hoping, even if it's not offered up for a free version, to still utilize it. Hopefully, my district will pay for that. As a coach, using Band app, it's been pretty great to use where I can communicate with parents and with students and with the community as a whole of what's going on within an activity. When an activity starts or whenever an important situation happens, we need to communicate that quickly. PowerSchool is another one where I can communicate with parents and send out emails and where they can see comments and everything else. I also utilize social media. I'll post things like how we did a competition, like either on Twitter or Facebook. So I'll utilize that, how we do competitions, maybe changing plans and everything, especially right now, we have to be a little bit more flexible on things. So any form of communication that we can use is very important right now, especially, the way it currently is, things are ever changing. So having different forms of communications open up, it's very important. I try not to use anything that I pay for communication purposes, only because I want to utilize what is given to me from my district. And I think my district does a pretty good job of allowing us to use different formats to communicate better. So I really don't pay for a lot of different things. So that works pretty well for us. Really, there's nothing else I could use that I personally can think of to like I'd want to use for different communication styles. I guess one thing I'd probably need to get to doing maybe like writing out, maybe like a letter or something once in a while out to parents and the community as well, and utilizing like the newspaper and everything. But a lot of our communication is going more online and digital that I feel that we need to utilize that more. But I do know that, there's still parents out there that do not have access to online uh, communication. Um, Now, the district wise, they will also use the phone recordings and stuff where they send out to all stakeholders as well. I personally don't use that because, well, I'm a teacher, so I don't get that chance to use that as well. So a little bit on the articles. So from what I got from there on the importance of introductions, should not be bland. They need to highlight who you are, not what you do. Emphasize what you're good at and what problems you can solve. It needs to be a story of who you are. It needs to be engaging. It can't just be trivial knowledge. And I know I kind of did that at the beginning, but as a, not just as a future, administrator or anything, it's very important that as a person in general, when I introduce myself, I need to talk about what I'm passionate about and who I am, not what I do. Okay. Also, I need to be respectful of my audience. Okay. Be respectful of their intelligence. I thought that was very important out of the one article where she discussed about going to the doctor and the doctor was speaking down to their intelligence. Uh, when introducing myself as a new building leader, I should be able to communicate with stakeholders effectively. I need to highlight what I love about leading and education. I also need to focus on the problems that I can solve, okay, and allow them to know, what I am good at, why I am in this leadership position. They need to be able to see that without me having to tell them this is why I'm here. Okay. So kind of an example that I would give would be like, hello, my name is Joe Standard. Um, I'm here because I want to help lead our school into the future and to ensure that every student and staff succeeds. It seems like in today's society, students are not fully prepared. I want to ensure that they have the tools to be successful members of society. So I feel like this is a great introduction. It kind of reflects who I am, and it reflects, what I believe in and why I'm here doing what I'm doing. Okay. So some on our district communication policies, um, what I found was it wasn't too strict or anything. The only thing it requires is it must be done in an appropriate manner, um, and and you must be able to verify what you've said as well. So it's always important to make sure that you have some sort of transcript as well. So it's not really strict. It's just, make sure that you have communication to where you can track what you've said so nothing can be misconstrued, or you can go back to and say, hey, this is what was said between I and the stakeholder. All right. So the standards of the NS 5.3 understand, demonstrate the capacity to communicate through oral, written, and digital means within the larger organizational, community and political context when advocating for the needs of their students and community. So the correlation, through this assignment, I am able to demonstrate my ability to communicate orally, written, and digital. Through creating an introductory presentation, I wrote out my introduction and orally explained what I use to communicate with stakeholders, while also using a format that utilizes a digital platform. This is relevant because through this assignment, I was able to learn more about how I can make a better impact in my communication skills. The first step in communication is the introduction. I must be able to communicate effectively who I am and what I stand for to build trust amongst all my stakeholders. Then a little bit of reflection here. As a future building leader, I know that I must use multiple forms of communication to reach all stakeholders. I know that I must be able to utilize technology and still be able to use letters to reach my community. I must always remember that if I can introduce myself properly, it will be easier to build those relationships within my community. So I want to thank you for watching my video and getting to know me a little bit. I can't wait to look at everyone else's videos and get a chance to learn more about you. I'm looking forward to a great semester, doing the best that we can. So thank you all, and I'll see you around.